Hello everyone, welcome to Carnivorous Plants Hub. Today I'm going to be giving you a quick tour of my outdoor table that holds most of my Venus flytraps and Sarracenias, plus a few Sundews. I wanted to show you all these plants before it's time to go away for dormancy. The growing season is winding down, and so these plants will mostly stop growing until next spring. It's been a rough year. I've battled pests, mostly spider mites, and the hottest days of the summer I was actually out of town, which was kind of frustrating. It hasn't been the best year for overall growth, but it also hasn't been the worst. It's probably about a month past the prime for most of these fly traps, but I still wanted to take some time and show you how amazing they are this time of year. Stick around to the end of the video. I'm going to show you my Sarracenia and give you a peek into some of the pictures. You never know what you're going to find in those pictures. It's always an adventure. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the actual plants here. Here is my Walmart Venus. Oh man, you can see I'm already going to get distracted. I barely even started this thing and I'm already distracted by an insect. You can see this little Cape Sundew has snagged some type of a little bee or something. I'm not sure what that is. Anybody out there know? Let me get a better look at it. Know what that insect? It's actually a really pretty little insect. This is one of the really cool things about carnivorous plants, though, is you can come out to your collection and you can look at it, and every time you come out, something different is going to be happening. There's going to be some type of interaction with insects. You'll be able to find different bugs in the pictures. Your Venus flytraps will be catching different types of insects. It's always interesting, and it's always fun to come out and take a look. I didn't even get a chance to show you the first Venus flytrap here, and I'm already distracted by a Cape Sundew catching a bug here. But these are the Walmart Venus flytraps that I planted last year. If you remember, I got these, and I've been trying to stop buying from big box stores Venus flytraps because I just don't have the room for them, but these ones were so big and beautiful that I just had to pull the trigger, and they're actually doing really good this year. I wish I'd have taken this video a couple weeks earlier because all these are just kind of not as good as they were a couple of weeks ago. We've had temperatures down in the 40s and 50s, so not as good as they were, but you can see they're still doing really good. They have some good growth points. I'm kind of hoping that this pot kind of takes off in the next year or two and it kind of fills out. And we can't see the bottom. That's kind of my hope and dream. I don't think I'll divide any of these. I think I'll just let these kind of go crazy. There's that little guy again. What a pretty little bug. I don't know what that is. Anybody out there know what that is? Let me know. Throw a comment. See if we can identify that really pretty little insect. Here we got the peach pit. Peach pit's a really beautiful little carnivorous plant. This has this one grows pretty vigorously. It did kind of have a pretty good battle, like a lot of these are gonna, with spider mites. So I had kind of a late start this year after I brought it out of my tent into the sun. The mites got a hold of it, and it's been kind of slow going a little bit, at least at the beginning of the growing season. And I don't have a long growing season anyway, so when my growing season gets shortened because of pests or whatever, it can be kind of detrimental. Here's my Equibea. This one's really cool. I think this was the last one that I repotted when I repotted all my Venus flytraps, and I think I got a little bit lazy. I should have probably divided this one up a little bit better. You can see this is just kind of a giant clump. I got a little guy that I divided right there. I think I divided that one, and then I got kind of lazy. I'll admit it. This is a big clump you can see, and I think it just needs it needs me to get in there and do some dividing and get that clump taken apart a little bit. I'll do that in spring for sure. Here's my low green. This one is another one that might have actually been doing a little bit better at the beginning of the year than it is now, just because of the mite damage. It's finally starting to snap out of it and starting to grow a little more vigorously. This is one that doesn't really get red on the inside. It stays really green, but you can see I've got some really new growth that's coming up there. You can see that black picture. You can see it just got kind of destroyed by the mites a little bit. Okay, and here's the Marston Dragon Sundew. This is a Binata forkleaf Sundew. It is absolutely beautiful, and all my Sundews have really been starting to take off now that the temperatures have cooled. They actually really thrive in a little bit cooler temperatures, not necessarily like cold dormancy type temperatures, but once the temperatures get into the lower like 70s, 80s, they really like that kind of weather. So these have been just really producing a lot of dew, catching a lot of insects. This is a really beautiful Sundew. My understanding is that these are kind of like possibly a temperate, but also could be tropical as well. And they do like a photo period dormancy, so I'm going to probably put these like in a windowsill inside this year for dormancy so that they get less light, but I'm not going to give them a cold dormancy. They shouldn't receive a really deep chill, and I actually did that last year, so hopefully this year it'll actually snap out of dormancy a little bit faster and grow a little bit more vigorously. Not that I need it to grow a little more vigorously. You can see this plant's already really taken off, but really excited to kind of keep this one inside with me this year instead of putting it away for the winter. So This is a really beautiful sundew. Strongly recommend getting one of these. They grow vigorously, they're fairly easy to grow, and they just do a lot of bug catching. Really cool sundew. My favorite, and I think the best, are still yet to come. But before I show you the rest of these Flytraps, Sarracenia, and Sundews, I wanted to thank you for being here. Make sure to pour some water on the like button and subscribe to my channel to help it grow. My dream's always been to start a carnivorous plant nursery. You being here is supporting that dream. Thank you so much. I've recently opened my store where I'm selling substrate and soil mixes for Venus Flytraps, Sarracenia, Sundew, and a special mix for pings. I'm also selling some live pings that are really amazing. I can also supply you with the highest quality planters like the ones you're seeing in this video. You can help support my small business by heading over to my store and seeing what's available. Even just liking, commenting, and watching the video to the end are ways you can support me 100% free of charge. Okay, I'm going to stop yapping now. Let's go ahead and get back to those Flytraps. Next, we have a beautiful little King Henry. This one is a little bit smaller when I divided it, so it's not a huge plant, but it's doing a really good job. It's got a division there, and I've got a little tiny one dividing off right here. So beautiful little King Henry. Then we got the Triton. This is one of my favorites just because it's so unique. It's got really interesting lashes, and it is functional. In case you were wondering, it doesn't catch bugs super well, but it will catch an insect. It does a pretty good job. You can see I got a lot of new growth coming up. This one's really interesting because of the really unique cilia. You can see this one here. Let me focus on this one. Really unique looking, and you can see they do shut, but they don't get a really good tight shut, so it's kind of hard for them to keep the insect in. But really interesting Venus flytrap. Here's my Amphiboros. This is one of my maroon or red Venus flytraps. You can see it's this really beautiful dark color of maroon. When the flytraps first come out, they're kind of a greenish color, like the one you can kind of see down there. Kind of come out green and purple, and then they really turn this dark maroon beautiful color as it matures. You can see I got a lot of growth points on this one. This one will be fun to divide. I think I'll have several plants coming out here. I got this little guy over here by itself, but I think this is going to be a really beautiful one to divide this spring. All right, here's my A2 Fang. I got this one I think I got this one like 2 or 3 years ago, and I didn't think it was going to make it, but it's actually starting to finally take off. It's had some really slow and kind of pathetic growth over the last couple of years, but this is the first year it's actually decided to put out some really nice size pictures. And I'll show you here with a quarter, kind of give you an idea of what the size of the pictures look like, so you kind of know. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes when you're just kind of looking at these, but you can see these pictures, or I'm sorry, these Flytraps are about the size of the quarter, so really beautiful little Flytrap. When it comes down to it, it's probably this beautiful soil that I have it in now, the substrate that I make and is available in my store now. Sorry for a shameless plug right there, but I know that since I've been using my own formulated substrate instead of buying other substrates, it's actually, my plants have been doing a lot better. So I've been doing a lot of rinsing. I finally got it formulated exactly how I like it. I think the substrate's making a really big difference. So go check out my store if you're interested. All right, next we have Evan M. Carnivorium. We have the Purple People Eater. This one is actually brand new. It just got here like a week ago, and it is not doing super great, but it's actually just acclimating. I got new growth. I think it's totally fine. It's recovering. It's just acclimating right now. Nothing to really worry about. All right, next we have the Candy Cane, which is a really interesting, kind of crazy looking Venus flytrap. You can see they have these really interesting traps that they don't have any trigger hairs, which is really kind of strange, but they do function. I've seen these close in the rain, but I've never actually seen them close on an insect. They're kind of the same as my direwolves, and I'll show you the direwolves here in just a second, but you can see they're kind of dividing and putting out some new traps, so hopefully this one will grow and I'll be able to divide it come next spring. Really cool Venus flytrap. This here is just a typical, I don't remember where I got this. I'm sure I just got it at some big box store, but this one's not doing very well. It hasn't been reacting very well to the sun, and you can see it's got some pest damage. It's also been battling mites all year, and I don't know why this one is not recovering as well as the others, but we'll see how it does. Here's another King Henry. I thought this one was completely dead. It actually all completely turned black and died, and I thought it was just kind of done for, but it started popping out a couple of traps here, and then it just started growing really vigorously after that. King Henrys do grow really vigorously, so once it recovered it just kind of took off. This is another King Henry. I'm not so sure that this is an actual King Henry, though. I bought this one locally, and now that I'm looking at it, it kind of doesn't grow the same as a King Henry. This one kind of grows shorter, more stout traps, as opposed to the King Henry, which tend to be a little bit taller, more gangly. But you can see this one goes closer to the ground. It does a really good job, and it grows super vigorously. Look at all that new growth in there. It's a really beautiful flytrap. I'm just not sure that it's a King Henry. That's what it was labeled as, so we'll go with it, but not completely convinced. Here's a red dragon. Red dragons battled fiercely, maybe the most against any pests this year. They battled the spider mites, but they also battled aphids. For some reason, aphids were extremely attracted to my red dragons, more so than my green Venus flytraps. But this is a beautiful red Venus flytrap, and they've now, once I got the pests under control, they finally started to really take off. And you can see I got some really beautiful new growth coming up. All right, here's my UK Sawtooth 2. This is probably my favorite Venus flytrap that grew this summer. It's grown vigorously. The colors on it are just brilliant. The red and the green, the contrast between the two colors is just absolutely beautiful. And I just love the shape of those sawtooths. You can see they've got the really beautiful cilia. It's kind of a shorter cilia that has more of a saw shape, which is obviously how they got their name. But you can see this one's growing vigorously. It's been eating well. I'm actually lucky to even be able to show you the red, because most of the time all of these traps are closed on prey. So I'm really happy that this one opened up a little bit so I can show you some of this beautiful red color. But what an absolute beautiful Venus flytrap. And here's my direwolf. This might be the most interesting flytrap that I have. Between the colors and the shape of the traps, you can see it's got these kind of weird, almost it looks like flames coming out, the cilia does. And they're kind of orange and red and kind of a yellowish color, just really beautiful. And we got these Cape Sundews down here that are kind of tagging along. That makes for a really beautiful plant. Also on the left here, you can see I got some binatas, some fork-leafed over there, which are really beautiful too. So I've got a little bit of everything. And you can see there's some really beautiful new traps coming up with this. Well, here's the binata for you a little bit. You can see those fork-leafed. But you can see that the direwolf has some new traps coming up. Really excited about this one. But it's a really interesting, just kind of an unusual Venus flytrap. Here we go, we got a bristletooth. This one is sort of similar to the sawtooth in terms of the shape of the trap. You can see it's got the shorter cilia, and it's got the really brilliant kind of red color on the inside and the really beautiful green on the outside. I just really like the way that these look. These are really photogenic. And they're really kind of cool looking. When you take pictures of these, they really kind of pop, just because of the colors and the shape of the trap is just really unusual. All right, next is my Mr. Nightly. You can see Mr. Nightly likes to eat wasps a lot. It eats a ton of food. Mr. Nightly has been one of my absolutely most vigorous growers. It's put out so many big, large traps, and just so many. It's been an amazing plant to watch, and it also got hit with spider mites a little bit, not as bad as some of the others, but you can see it's got a little bit of damage on it, and it's definitely a little bit past its prime. When this one was in its prime about a month ago, it was just unbelievable how beautiful it was. The green and the red and the long cilia, it was just a really beautiful plant. It is definitely hitting the downturn a little bit with dormancy coming on, but you can see it's got some black traps coming up here. You know, a lot of people, before they like to photograph or show their traps, they like to clean them up and trim them, and I kind of wish that I did that a little bit, because they really do look a lot more pretty when you trim them. But I also think it's really good for everybody to see that. Here's my G14 here, but I think it's really good for everyone to see that this is what they look like before dormancy. They've been growing all summer. There's a lot of dead traps. This is perfectly normal. When you see people's perfectly grown fly traps, when they post pictures of them on the internet or whatever, it's usually because they've turned them up and they've made them as pretty and as perfect as possible. Well, this is kind of the truth of it. So, you know, you may not see it on pictures and stuff all the time, but yeah, you can see here that this is how fly traps really look in September most of the time when they're getting ready to go in dormancy. Unless you keep up on the trimming all year, which I don't necessarily. I probably should do a little bit better job of that, but anyway, this is my G14. I'm sorry to be rambling there, but you can see it's got some really nice size traps on it. Here's another Triton. See, it's not as growing as vigorously as the other one, but it is doing pretty good. It's got some new growth in there. This is a division that I did earlier in the spring, so very beautiful little fly trap. And here's my other red dragon. We won't spend too much time on this one, but another one that got attacked by mites and aphids. But this one is actually doing really well now. It's made pretty much a full recovery, and it's putting out these just really nice big red traps. What a beautiful plant. It's got some nice new growth coming in. Okay, and next we have the Supernova. This one's really cool. This is one of my favorites too. I really love the shape of this is kind of like a mix between like a sawtooth and a regular. It's got a little bit longer cilia than a sawtooth, but not quite as long as normal fly traps, and it has kind of that cool saw shape. And this one, I have a hard time finding open traps with this one too. They're almost always closed. It's eating a lot. And you can see there's one here, but this is a fairly new one. Oh, look at that cool little spider. What a beautiful little spider. Really interesting looking. It's hard to see these when I'm videoing, but when I get the video on the computer, I can actually see them a lot better, so it's a really cool little spider. But this one's just done really well, grown vigorously, and it's been eating really well. Here's a seed grown. This one is a little bit taller, but you can see it's grown pretty vigorously this summer as well. This one also is kind of like the Mr. Nightly, where it's just a little bit past its prime. You can see I got some dead traps. I'm going to have a lot of work to do before I put these things in a dormancy. I got a lot of dead growth to cut off, a lot of trimming to do. I probably should have done all that and then taken all this video for you, but I think it's really cool to kind of see what a real collection looks like and what you can expect, because like I said earlier, I think a lot of people get scared when they see these black traps, but it's good to know that this is just kind of a normal thing. Here's another bristletooth. This is bristletooth divisions that I took off of it in the spring, and you see we've got 4 baby plants here that are kind of all growing on their own, that'll hopefully be in their own pots in the next year or two, but they're all growing really well. Beautiful little baby bristletooths there, and then another kind of full-size one here, which is doing really well. This bristletooth has also been eating pretty well. I got this nice big one coming up right here. Really cool plant. Love the bristletooth. Okay, and here's some of my most recent. Here's the bimbo that I got from Trap Daddy Carnivorous Plants. You can see this one's acclimating. This one came from Louisiana, so the sun just hits a little bit different here. Not saying that it's better or worse, it's just different. So it's taking a little bit of time to acclimate, but you can see the new growth there is acclimating pretty nicely, and it's starting to grow pretty well. I'm really excited. I got this one really late in the season, so it hasn't had a chance to really do a ton, but I think it's going to be a beautiful plant. And the other one that I got from Trap Daddy is this G17 here. Kind of the same thing. You can see it's really acclimating, but these are kind of the longer, more almost like alien or teardrop shaped Venus flytrap. It's got really interesting, cool pictures, really long cilia. This is just a really beautiful Venus flytrap. Another one that I'm really excited to see how it does. This one also late in the season, so we'll see how it does next year. I think it's going to be really incredible. Here's a Z11 that I got from California Carnivores recently. This is my little wasp eater. You can see this one has been feasting on wasps. This trap didn't do very well because it just caught the wasp's head. This one did do better. This one only caught the wasp head too, which usually this results in the death of the trap because it doesn't get a good seal. But you can see this one sealed right around the wasp's thorax, which must have sealed tight enough because the trap is opened back up and it looks like it's waiting for another prey. So that doesn't usually happen, so that's pretty cool. But really beautiful red coloration on that Z11 there. Really incredible little Venus flytrap. All right, here's the Carni Plants 003. You can see this has kind of a sawtooth shape. Cilia, they're a little bit longer. But it's been eating pretty well. It's got some really beautiful reds and greens. It's been growing really well, actually. So I'm excited this one's fully acclimated now that we're just about going into dormancy. But I think this is another one that is going to grow really well come next spring. Okay, and here's the Gaping Maw. This is a really cool Venus flytrap. I don't have a ton of Venus flytraps that are really tall and have kind of the skinny leaves like this one, but you can see this one is growing super tall, has the really skinny leaves, and it's just really beautiful. It has these really long lashes, and it's growing really vigorously ever since it's acclimated, and it looks like it's doing well. I can't wait to repot this one into a bigger planter come next spring, probably after dormancy, and to watch that one just really take off. Here is the White Fang from California Carnivores. This is another just beautiful Venus flytrap. It's going to be another kind of tall and skinny one. You can see it has the really beautiful traps and the longer cilia, kind of similar to the Gaping Maw, but I think this one's going to grow probably even more vigorously. These ones I'm really excited for because they've all just kind of gotten their feet and started to take off in my weather, and they've become fully acclimated, but I think they're really going to do a lot of their impressiveness probably come next summer during the next growing season. All right, and we got the Whiskers here, which this one's kind of obvious why it's named Whiskers. It has the super long, beautiful lashes. This is another one that's just starting to hit its stride, which is a little bit of a bummer. Another one that I got really late in the growing season. I think that one actually just caught a bug. You see the little bugs late flailing around at the bottom there, but this one is another one that, man, once it starts growing in its own planter, a bigger planter with fresh soil and everything next spring, it is going to be just incredible. Little bug leg flinging around out there. A little fly or something got caught, but just starting to take off. I really hate dormancy. All my plants are really just starting to take off, and I'm getting ready to put them into dormancy. Just figures. All right, let's move on to the Sarracenia, but real quick before I do that, and I show you what kind of insects I'm catching in these pictures, let me just share this with you. I'm so excited to be teaming up with California Carnivores. They are one of the most experienced and knowledgeable carnivorous plant nurseries in the entire world. They have a massive selection year-round of all types of carnivorous plants. There will definitely be something in their nursery that you fall in love with. On top of that, they have been generous enough to offer my viewers an exclusive 10% discount on their order when they enter Bug Eater at checkout. That's BUGEATER, Bug Eater. I have links in the description and the pinned comment, so you can head on over and pick out the perfect carnivorous plant to add to your collection. You know you deserve it. Let's go ahead and head on back to the video. Okay, here is the Sarracenia citizina. Now let's hear you say that 10 times fast. Really cool plant. My understanding is that the citizina actually means parrot in Latin. And when you see the shape of these pictures, you'll probably understand that they have a really kind of a bird head type appearance. This one hasn't done as well as I wanted it to, and I think it's because of all these darn sundews in here. These sundews really kind of took over this pot, and I think that's kind of my fault because I did kind of plant them in there with it. I didn't realize they were going to grow as vigorously as they did. So I actually need to pull these apart, separate, and put the citizina in its own planter, and then keep these beautiful sundews. But you can see just how beautiful they are. We got Cape sundews in here. We got binatas, forkleaf sundews. So just a really interesting pot here full of all kinds of different plants. But I do think that they've kind of drowned out the citizina, which is a really, really cool, really interesting Sarracenia, and I really want it to grow on its own, so I need to make the start of its own show here and get these ones separated. All right, and here is a Purpurea Adrian Slack. This is probably one of my most beautiful pitcher plants that I have right now. This is just an amazing Sarracenia. This is, look at the colors on this, the green going up into the red and maroon. You got the veins growing on the back. I'll get you a close up here of these beautiful veins that kind of come up. Got a new growth coming up right here. These have just really kind of hit their stride with growing. I think Sarracenia really do much better in the fall once the really hot heat goes away. And they've just been really taking off in the fall, which is really, really cool. You can see they got the green, and the red, and the maroon. These are just, I can't wait for these to grow even more vigorously, and I can divide them and have more of these around because I just love the way that these look. You can see this one here caught a moth. And in the other picture here, you can see that we have a wasp that's pretty desperately trying to get out, but really beautiful plant. Really love this Purpurea. Okay, and then moving on to the Leah Wilkerson. This is the deep throat. These are, man, these are just so, they're probably the prettiest of them all. They've got the kind of frilly tops here. They got the big wide open mouth. These are absolutely beautiful, and actually you can see here I've got the biggest pitcher growing right now that I've had all year, which is crazy because we're almost in October and my biggest pitcher is growing right now. So this is a really, really beautiful plant, just kind of hitting its stride, and it does such a good job catching insects. These pitchers are almost all completely full, and I'll give you a good look here at what's inside of them. Let's take a look in here real quick. You can see I've got tons of little bees, all different types of wild bees. I don't know what these all are. I don't think they're wasps. I think that one on top might be like a little honeybee. And I know that if I don't rescue this little honeybee here, then people will probably be furious with me. So let's go ahead and rescue them. I really do try to rescue all the honeybees when I see them. So if I see a honeybee on the top, sometimes it's too late, but if I can, I'll definitely put a little stick in there and then I'll fish them out. So I got no problem doing that. This thing's gonna catch plenty of bugs, but here we go. Look at that cool little bee took off on me there. Let's see what else we have in here. Oh, look at that one. I think that one's kind of, oh, he looks mad. Like, seriously, you got him out and not me? What's going on, man? Sorry, bub. I gotta leave some of you in there. Plants gotta eat. All right, and here is the Leah Wilkerson Adrian Slack. These are really beautiful as well. They got the really green pitchers that come up and kind of turn kind of a little bit of a red and white at the top. You got the really wide open mouth. Really, really beautiful. These also do a pretty good job of catching insects. Not as good as the deep throat for whatever reason. They don't catch as many, but these ones do a pretty good job of catching bugs, but they're just really beautiful. I love when you see all these Sarracenias kind of mixed in together and you get all these different unique colors and looks. And it makes for a really beautiful bouquet. Let's see, these ones have been, last time I looked, they were catching a lot of flies. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, looks like we got a fly down there. We've caught a fly, like he's doing his little hand thing. But that fly's stuck. That fly will not be able to get out. There's no way it's climbing out. There's no way it'll be able to fly out because its wings will hit the side and they'll just continue to keep falling in. And it looks like over here we have another fly. Definitely, for whatever reason, some of the, it's kind of weird how like these do a good job of catching certain types of insects. This one does a good job catching flies. Obviously that other one does a good job of catching all the different kinds of bees. But really, really beautiful plants here. Really beautiful Sarracenia. You see a lot of these are just kind of hitting their stride. A lot of new pictures coming up. Here we have the deep throat Adrian Slack. Another beautiful plant. Oh, we got a little wasp right here. Let's see if we can get a video live of him falling in. Let's see what, oh, he's going down. This is why I love coming out here. Like I can come out here and just kind of, every time you come out, something different is happening. Like, look at this, here we go. We got this little wasp. We can kind of watch him and see what he does. Let's see how he's eating here. You can see he's just feasting. You can see why these catch so much insects, because they just love that sweet nectar that it puts out. And they just, this one's holding on for dear life. You can see its little leg holding on to the lip right there. I don't know if this one's going to get trapped in here. Oh, he fell down. Now, there is a possibility he might get out because this one's leaning a lot and it's a smaller pitcher. Oh, it looks like he has company down there. There's something behind him and it doesn't like being in there with him. So he's trying to get out, but you can see he's furious. He's trying to get out of there, but he can't because those little hairs are pointing down. But you kind of got to see live right there a wasp being caught inside of a pitcher, which, like I said, he might get out, but he might not. He might be in there for good. But here's some more of these just beautiful pictures. You can see as the year goes on that there's a little bit of wear and tear with these, with some of the older ones, which is perfectly normal. It's not something you have to worry about. Let's go back to our little wasp friend real quick and see how he's doing. Did he get out? No, he's still in there. He's still trying to climb out. I guess the jury's out on whether or not he's going to be able to get out of there, but he's definitely struggling. He's closer to the top, but he's kind of slipping back in there. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to my little maroon. Here is my Sarracenia maroon. This one's really cool. This is one of the original plants that kind of started the channel with. It took me a long time to realize what kind of Sarracenia this was, but I could tell by the top of the plant here, the hood is a very distinct shape to a Sarracenia maroon. So I finally figured out that the way that these grow is they come out really green and really pretty like these ones here, and then they turn that really dark maroon color. So I think I finally decided this is definitely a Sarracenia maroon, which is a beautiful plant. Took a peek here to see if there's not really anything too exciting going on in these pictures, so not really much to show you, but I just wanted to show you this one just because it's one of the original plants from my channel. So Sarracenia maroon. Okay, let's take it on over to this fly real quick and see if we can maybe catch at least one insect falling in here. But yeah, that's the collection here. You can hopefully this fly will fall in. It's kind of hard to catch on camera when the insects actually fall into the plant, but thanks so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it. This is the collection that I have outside. This isn't all my plants, but these are all the ones that I have kind of sitting outside right now. So thank you so much for supporting the channel. Make sure to head on over to my store if you're interested in some soil or maybe some live pings. Check that stuff out. I really appreciate you supporting everything and being here. Thank you so much, and I really hope to catch you in my next video. Come on, fly, fall in, fall in. Fallen. It fell, but then it flew out. Hope to catch you in my next video. Bye.